Oh, ooh. Okay, Mike. Look it. Listen. Hi, y'all. Hi. We're gonna start in a couple of seconds because I am a timely girl and I like things to be on time and ready to go. What else? I need my water. Y'all hear me okay? Thumbs up in the chat if you can. I'm using a new microphone today. Can anybody hear me? Can y'all hear me? Thumbs up. Yes, no, 1, 2. 1, 2 in the chat if you can hear me. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So I'm going to set my timer because I'm a talker. So I can talk forever. And I'm going to give us 15 minutes starting at 5:05. But it's good to see some lovely, not faces, but names in the room that I know. So hello and thank you for joining. If you don't know, I decided to do 15 minutes every week to talk about what we're doing at Birth Ruckus and at Nurture and Flow, but most importantly, like just talk about us. I feel like we don't spend enough time just talking about us and the things that we're doing and why it's important that we're doing the things. So yeah, that's where we're at. Ooh, look at this mic. This mic is so good. This is actually my like nail dryer. It's the light. I put my mic on there. It's like everything. I feel like Johnny Carson. Okay. Let me give folks like, a couple more minutes and then I'm gonna just get started. But it's really great to be able to do this every week. I think I shy away from doing anything of redundancy because of my own personal, I don't like to do shit over and over again, but you know what? Why not? Why not do it for a good reason, for the folks that I support, the folks that support me? And I think that's even more important than just being stuck in my ways. So I'm choosing not to be stuck in my ways and make sure that I'm showing up for community. And this is what this is about, community. So I'm going to set the timer again, like I said, because I know me. I can talk forever. And I think it's important to respect people's time. And so as I clock us at 5:05, like I said, starting at 15 minutes at 5:05, because I know us. We don't show up on time nowhere. We don't show up on time nowhere. But yes, we're going to show up today, and I'm going to set our time for 15 minutes. Today is 15 minutes. That is going to be the standard for all of our time together because it's just necessary. And again, like I said, I want to respect folks' time, but this is a great intro to me, what we're doing at our organizations and why this work is so important, and the people that we support. So there's that. All right, we're going to get started. So hi, everybody. My name is Andrea Weaver. I am founder at Nurture and Flow, and I'm co-founder of Birth Ruckus, and both of those intertwine at the space of maternal health. I also am a huge advocate. I'm a facilitator. I'm a mama. I'm an auntie. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. I'm a girlfriend. I'm a partner. I'm all of the things. And so I think this is a really great space to really talk about those things. And although today is definitely more of an introduction to me, it's not an introduction to the spaces that us Black and Brown folks actually thrive in. And where we thrive is when we're celebrating ourselves and when we get to show up for one another in different spaces. And so for me, I'm always having conversations about why I'm doing what I'm doing, who's doing what, why we're doing the things that we're doing. And so I have I get so many questions about even just being a doula alone. And so today we're going to talk about two things specifically. So we're going to talk about me for a little bit because I think I can have that. And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about nurture and flow, or me as a doula, and then mentoring other doulas and why that work is important. And then talk about community, because community is at the core of everything that I do, and explaining more about why community is so important for Black and Brown folks. So my name is Andrea, like I said, and all the things that I introduce myself as. And one of the core functions for me is my voice has never belonged to me. I am very clear that my voice has always belonged to the people. That does not mean that someone is less than if their voices aren't, you're not going to be at the point. We need everybody to do the things. I'm not a lawyer, so guess what? We need lawyers. I'm not an accountant. I could do accounting things, but I'm not an accountant. So we need those things because there's a game to be played, and we're not in some vacuum where the world does not affect us, where our experiences are not overlapping capitalism and white supremacy and all the things, right? We know where things lie. And so when we're really having true conversations about how things intersect, I think the real question is, how does it really intersect with you, and where does it land? When I think about me, myself in these spaces and trying to fight against capitalism or white supremacy, which white supremacy and capitalism, same people. That's for another podcast, or another talk. I shouldn't even say podcast, just for another talk. When we talk about those things, we have to also consider that where it trickled down and how we are consuming things, how we're presenting, and where our minds are constructing these boxes we're put ourselves in. And so I'll start with community as one of the topics we're talking about. One of the reasons why I do what I do and have been doing what I've been doing I'm 36 now. So for the last 15 years in advocacy, supporting folks, my career has always been a through line of people. It's been as a manager, as a resource manager, as a territory manager, as a sales manager. It's always people facing, right? And when I think about people facing, it's not necessarily just one thing. So I was in sales for a really long time, for almost 10 years. And I was really good at that shit. And then I got burnt out. And then I moved on to tech spaces, and I was a facilities manager. And then I moved into more people spaces, but I was an executive assistant. So that's when the veil lifted for me in corporate spaces, when I understood that certain things that we want in these spaces don't happen unless we have the longitude of things. And a lot of times we don't talk about the longitude of your role or the organization that we have, because we know that, especially as Black and Brown folks, particularly Black and Brown women and Black women in these spaces, we know where our stop signs are. And so we try to subvert them or come around and make our way through. And it's exhausting to be hired to do a job and then consistently convincing people that you can do this job that they hired you for is like crazy town, and I'm taking crazy pills, right? And I mean crazy in the most disrespectful way possible, because that is how it feels. I don't use the word crazy as often to describe normal behaviors. I'm really talking about a space that is constantly gaslighting you. And you're either gaslighting yourself based on the information that you have or your experiences, or the management that is telling you that, hey, you know what, we hired you to do XYZ, but we kind of don't trust you to do it. And so you're spending all this time doing that. So I say all that to say, like, my through line has always been in people, and with that lens of understanding and that veil being lifted for me as an executive assistant, I'm very clear about what these spaces mean. And I will tell you and anybody else that it is fuck these jobs, marry the work, period. It's not about the organization. The organization pays you, yes. But if you die tomorrow, they'd have your job description up within the week, if not the next day. And that's not to say that these people don't care about you. They do, but there are small microcosms in like the grand scheme of things. And that's also not invalid. It's exceptionally important to have folks speaking your name when you're not in the room, right? But then when we go out into the greater world and we look out and we see the news, we see social media, we understand that Black and brown folks, Black folks specifically, are dying in the streets, and then our bodies are being monetized in our deaths, is heartbreaking. And then to have to go back and actually have these conversations with folks that don't identify as Black is heartbreaking. And so throughout my career, I feel like that has been the balancing scale, is finding where things balance without feeling overwhelmed. And there have been times in my career I felt overwhelmed where I have gone off the deep end and I've had to take a break. And now I'm in this space. So fast forward now to the next topic, is talking about the work that I'm doing at Nurture and Flow, at Birth Ruckus, what I'm doing with Coming Soon, Omni Hive, is really thinking about the care of folks, full stop, right? So if we go to the hospital, a lot of us go because we need something fixed. Fix me, please. Hurry up and fix me. I don't got no questions. Just make me feel better. But what we're seeing is that same mentality is taken in spaces where we talk about folks having babies, when we know pregnancy and birth is a natural occurrence. And what happens? Well, if it's treated like an illness, then it's going to be an emergency every time you show up. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I don't want to give a bad rep to some of the good things that come out of medical spaces. But it's not even but, it's a yes and. And we also have to consider that there is a structure in that space that continues to box us in to adhere to things that put us at risk for death. Full stop. Why I do what I do? Because nobody cares until somebody you know dies. Nobody cares until someone dies in postpartum. No one cares until a woman is experiencing postpartum psychosis. Meanwhile, all the precursors were already there before this last baby, or even at this baby, right? Nobody cares until a hospital staff has disrespected them, or their partner, or their wife, or their girlfriend, or whoever, right? And I'm here to, one, amplify voices in a way that we're not just waiting until folks die. I'm going to stay ready. You ain't got to get ready, ass bitch. So if I'm staying ready, that means that I'm prepared to support someone in birth spaces, or anyone for that matter. And if you've worked with me in corporate spaces, you know I'm very much the same way. I want to see you succeed, and let's talk about your future now before you get there, and not when you get burnt out. And birth, labor, pregnancy is the same thing. If we're not considering the whole picture, we're doing ourselves a disservice. And I actually even venture further to say that if we're not considering some of the things that I'm going to mention in our last 5 minutes about our own health care, let's just push to the side maternal health for a second. Questions that we should be asking in healthcare, then we are doing ourselves a disservice. And that does not mean that the medical side of things has no place. It does, but it's within balance and it's within reason. And if you don't know the questions to ask to make sure that you are informed at every turn and at every point of your care, then you yourself are also doing yourself a disservice. Now, how do you find that information out? Well, no one's telling you, and it's by design, right? So it goes back to all the things as to why Black and brown people are in these spaces. But I'm going to tell you a quick story. I had a client, a fluent client. We were in the hospital. Doctor came, checked this person and said, hey, you can't handle being checked. How are you going to handle this baby? They came back later, told her, well, you're not really progressing. We're going to put in a Foley balloon, which is an insert into the cervix, right? They did that wrong. Now, I knew they did it wrong. So when the doctor came out 10 hours later, I said, hey, they didn't do this correct. Yes, they did. They put it in right. I said, well, call the doctor. But I'm pretty sure they did it wrong. Come to find out, they did the insertion wrong. Meanwhile, they're telling my client they haven't dilated. They pull this balloon out, which blocks progress for them to check. They check progress. Once they pull the Folly balloon out, Google it or message me. I'll tell you what a Folly balloon is within labor and delivery. And they check her. She's 6 centimeters. Now, this whole time, they've been telling her she hasn't been progressing and how is she going to do this? And she's like, this is hospital, that the doctor that she paid for in this space. While they're doing this last exam, after they checked her at 6 centimeters, decided to grab the hook that looks like a crochet hook to break a water. Now, I know what this looks like. I know what the packaging looks like. So I asked my client, hey, are you breaking your water? She goes, no, why would I be breaking my water? The doctor goes, oh, well, this is just routine. She's like, I don't want to get my water broken. Right? And then the doctor, after all this time, finally speaks to me directly and asks me my name. Now, I want you all to guess this person's nationality, what they look like. I'd love to hear your guesses. This is, and you'll probably guess. It was, and let me just tell you, it was not a Black woman. It was an affluent white woman who paid for cash a doctor to show up to her birth, period. Gavina, I think you said client or doctor. The client. The client was a white woman. So now, if that is the experience of a white woman in this space, then what does that say about the marginalized communities that are ignored, that in medical spaces are said to only experience pain at a lesser level than white women, that they don't really know what's going on in their bodies, or they just want drugs or whatever, right, in these spaces. And I tell that story a lot. And I want to say this is 2023, February of this year. This is not 10 years ago. And so when we talk about these spaces and why care is so important, it's because you have to have somebody in the room that not only cares about you and wants you to thrive, but we also have to be considering what's going on in the room, someone that can step back and observe. And that's why I do what I do, but I also mentor doulas to do the same thing. And it's not the same at every birth. And it's not roses and like how we see in the movies, right? It is a very active practice, especially in a hospital room. So what happens? So the thing that I tell folks all the time, one is check your hospital website to see what your patient rights are. And I guarantee you, especially for those of you who don't know, you can leave the hospital at any point. You want to know when you can leave the hospital when you're in labor? I don't care if you're crowning, you can leave if you don't feel respected and supported and feel safe to give birth. And then my last point is we use the BRAINS framework. And it's BRAIN. What are the benefits? What are the risks? What are the alternatives? What does your intuition say? And what if you do nothing? And that nothing part is key because it's not about being combative. It is about asking the right questions, even if you don't know what they're talking about. Your hospital staff's job, your care provider's job is to give you all the information so that you can make a decision best for you, your baby, and your family. Not until they're exhausted, not till they're irritated with you, not because they feel like you're being combative. It's I want to understand and be a participant, an active participant in my care. And that we're talking about maternal health, but we could really pivot and talk about diabetes. We can talk about allergies. We can talk about high cholesterol. We can talk about all of these things in a real way. Oop, and we're at 15 minutes. We can talk about these things in a real way and be asking these questions. So I'll say this again as we close out. The thing that I always tell my clients and my doulas that are in the room will tell you, I will drill this into your head until you can't. Like it'll be on a t-shirt. And when you see me, it's like a t-shirt that I have, a visual t-shirt. It's also like tattooed across my brain. BRAINS framework. What are the benefits? What are the risks to those benefits? What are the alternatives? And then what are the benefits and risks to those alternatives? What does your intuition say based off the information you've received, the goals that you'd like to have, and the outcomes, right? And then what if we do nothing? The end is key. And sometimes it's a matter of how long do I have to make a decision? How long do I have to decide? Can I go home? Can I talk to my people? Right? Because I'll tell you now that if there isn't, in fact, an emergency, someone's going to be wheeling you down a hallway. They won't be asking you a whole bunch of questions. They're going to be telling you what's going on. And I'm telling you that as an experienced doula that has birthed most of my babies in hospitals, very rarely is there an emergency. Often you have time to ask the question, how long do I have? And if you do nothing else to decide or even circumvent your healthcare, take a moment, take a pause, and consider what are the benefits, risks, what are the alternatives, what does your intuition say, and what if you do nothing? Well, that's my time, y'all. I really appreciate you all showing up today. You can see this re-recording. I think I'm going to stick it on YouTube and not Instagram, but you can definitely see a clip here. And I will see you all next Thursday. And again, my name is Andrea Rochelle Weaver. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am founder at Nurture and Flow, co-founder at Birth Ruckus, and a facilitator, mama, auntie, best friend, all the things. And I cannot wait to see you all again. Bye.